Ladies and gentlemen, cinematic class is about to begin, and the professor is in. Scriptwriting guru Sid Field often said, "Before you begin writing, know your ending." Tonight's director should have followed that advice. Matt Porterfield wrote and directed Suller's Point, and it's really nothing more than a hodgepodge of vignettes that are thrown together seemingly for no rhyme nor reason. Most of the questions that you had at the beginning of the film are unanswered at the end of the film, and there are more heaped on to it. So you sit and scratch your head and say, what was the purpose of watching this? Now, the whole story centers around the main character, Keith, who is played by Michael Lombardi. He does a fine job acting. He just doesn't have the material to act with. He is an ex-con who is just released from prison, and he's trying to reintegrate himself into society, but there are naturally forces from his criminal life that are pulling him in opposite directions. He constantly sabotages his desire to lead a normal life. And at the same time, he continually harasses and irritates those folks that were probably responsible for getting him into prison. So it's kind of hard to have any empathy with good old Keith. There's absolutely no rhyme nor reason for his actions. The guy's just goofy. And it's always difficult for an audience to try to empathize with a character that's just goofy. Now, this movie was shot in what they call the New York style, very, very dingy looking, low, sometimes bad lighting, and a lot of soft filters to kind of give it a grunge look, if you will. The editing of it, perhaps if there was a reshuffling of some of these little vignettes, the story might have made a little bit more sense, but as it is, the way they're constructed, it's kind of chronological, but it just adds to the questions. There's nothing going on here that really makes any sense whatsoever. When I first watched this, I thought, my God, this looks like one of the student films that my students would make when I was back in the day teaching this stuff. And sure enough, at the end of the film, they credited the Greater Baltimore Cultural Alliance, working in tandem with the University of Johns Hopkins for putting together this film and for sponsoring this film. Well, folks, okay, maybe that explains a lot of what's going on. They did manage to pull in Jim Belushi for a cameo role, and I don't understand why. He's not, this material just isn't up to his snuff. I'm guessing maybe some favors were owed, and that's why he appears in a few brief scenes. The city of Baltimore has had its trials and tribulations from some events that happened years ago now, and the city has not recovered from those events, mainly due to the inept elected politicians who serve down there. So as a result, because the city is still probably in a bigger mess than it was when all this stuff broke out, they have put on kind of a spin campaign to kind of make people not afraid to go to Baltimore for fear of their life. I got to tell you something. This movie's not going to help that campaign at all. It's just not. Hey, I've got a lot more to say about this film in my written review, which you can find over on the blog. Just type in outtakeswithfiore.blogspot.com, and you'll be able to read the entire review. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.